Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here, I hope you're all well, and welcome to a little bit of a look at the Polycarpov ITP-1 M1. Now this is the Battle Pass reward plane. I think it's level 50, I think, eventually, when you get it. Relatively interesting little plane. Was a prototype built back in the 1940s by Nikolai Polikarpov. Was a proposed heavy cannon fighter for bomber escort duties and ground attack missions, things like that. It's very similar to sort of the MiGs and the Yaks. It has that very similar feeling, that very Soviet feeling for the planes. You've got a really good centre of mass cannon option for it, being that you have a 37mm cannon in the nose, which is, very, very big, and then you have two Shavak 20mm cannons either side of the engine, which is quite useful. So centre of mass, you've got a ridiculous amount of firepower. The plane can also carry some rockets as well as some bombs, so it's got some utility options with it. It's a low-wing monoplane design, wooden monocoque fuselage, typical general Soviet plane. The cockpit and tail assembly, very much the I-185. The main difference is the fact that it has the inline engine on it. Which engine does it have? Yeah, 12 cylinder, is it? I think. Inline engine on it. I think it's AM 30 something. So, it's kind of like if you moulded a Yak and an I-185 together, you get this. And that's not a bad thing. The I-185 is probably one of my favourite planes for the Russian tech tree. It's a really, really cool little plane. This one is at 3.2 BR, so it's quite a low BR rating. In all honesty, especially for the firepower that you've got. So you've got a relatively strong plane, which has a relatively good engine in it. I think it's it's over the 1200 horsepower range of engine on board. So it's got some serious oomph to it. It's not going to climb as quickly as some of the other planes around, but it has got some decent ability. It's a good mid-altitude fighter, like all Russian planes tend to be. It's pretty manoeuvrable, especially when you get to a sort of low altitude. The plane does feel pretty good, and yeah, overall, it's one of those planes which I'd say worth getting as a. If you are actually doing the tasks, you're not going to be disappointed by the ITP-1 at all. There is the M2 variation that was also built. The M2 had a lot more horsepower in it, and was a little bit more manoeuvrable, but it didn't end up getting built. As I say, well, it didn't end up getting put into production. It was a bit too late. It was about 1943, 1944, something like that, when it actually was in test flights. And by that stage, everybody had already caught up, and it was no longer ahead of its time. It was a bit below its time. So, we've got an A36 there, and he's coming in for a head-on. Is he? No, he's turning away. That's good news. So we're going to go around, going to fire off a few shots, we're going to try and get some hits, and boom, we get that big hit with our gun. And there is the B-18 there that's kind of been hit a little bit. And we are circling around like seagulls, going, mine, 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 mine. Got a bit of wing missing. Going to try and get some hits on that plane. And as usual, HE shells not working completely to ideal situation, but we end up managing to get it down. Slight kill steal. I'm not ashamed to say slight kill steal. But I just was just thinking, oh, well, I'm going to try it out. I want to see how this plane performs in testing it. I'm not going to play many games in this thing, so I want to get a good one for the replay. So we might see the M2 come in the regular tech tree. That could be an idea. Now we're coming down on the Mustang Mark 1 right here. We're going to try and get some shots off. We miss our shots. Again, a little bit rusty. I definitely am a little bit rusty. So it's getting quite some good maneuverability here. And we do get a hit on the tail. So some damage there. Big hit on the wing. Of course we get sparks. Of course, I was using the HE rounds here quite a lot because I've sort of been playing around with that a little bit in air because of the changes to high explosive rounds, and I'm sort of thinking maybe they'll be worth the damn and won't just spark all the time. But they tend to just spark all the time. Alright, that is a Mustang down. So we can keep with a Mustang at low altitude, and that's the thing I wanted to show there, is this plane is really quite manoeuvrable at the low altitude. Now the plane itself, as I said, didn't get past the prototype stages. The plane was constantly on the move due to the German advance, and the plane was evacuated from Novovrisk when the German advancement happened, and yeah, it really didn't get an opportunity to do much after that, sadly. The prototype was well received. It was a good plane in all accounts, and at its time, if it had come out a little bit earlier, it would have been a very strong attacker and fighter. It definitely had the characteristics of a good Russian plane, which we've seen so often in Russian accounts. But again, look at this. Get some pretty good hits on the BF-110, and just nothing. Just sparkety spark. It's so frustrating sometimes. Some of that's down to me as well, of course. But anyway, but it didn't really go on. The M2 version, the engine was a bit more unreliable than the M1, so again that didn't help it out, and yeah, unfortunately it didn't really see much progress, and Polikarpov's fighter didn't really see much out of it. But as a plane in War Thunder, it's well worth your time. As I say, if you are grinding up for the battle events, this plane is going to be a really nice little plane for you. It's going to be an enjoyable one. The centre of mass firepower you have is really strong. This thing is an absolute beast in head-ons. It's got the manoeuvrability, it's got the power, it's got everything you really need. And as I said, at 3.2 BR rating, it is an absolute gem. So yeah, well worth it in all honesty. And if we just look at the old X-ray as well, you can see again, similar sort of normal Russian sort of tech, but you've got a lot of protection in the front from the engines, things like that. About 37mm in the centre mass and things like that. It is a decent plane. Doesn't have much armour or anything like that, unfortunately. It is just pretty much straightforward, as it was, but then again it was a prototype. It wasn't actually in production, so again didn't need all of those extra little bells and whistles. But it is easy to fly. At 3.2 battle rating, it is an absolute beast. This thing is going to be an absolute terror for bomber hunting because that 37mm is so strong. But it's definitely a good plane, and it'll be a good good addition as well to ground battles as well. It's got the opportunity, it's got the items needed to make it an actual decent plane for ground battles. Okay, so let's just head out of the hangar and let's head out of the battle and let's just head to the hangar. Okay, after much fussing around to actually get it up, here it is in the hangar view, the ITP M1. So as you can see, armour-wise, you have got seat armour at the back, but nothing on the front. X-ray, as we said, the engine in the front, 1200 horsepower, that 37mm cannon, 50 rounds of ammunition. On the side, you've got the Shabaks with 200 rounds of ammunition. As I say, all in all, it's a good plane. It's got good maneuverability. Got a really good maximum speed as well, especially for a 3.3 battle rating plane. It is quite fast, and it has some good turn time and efficiency in that respect. It's, let's say, it's a perfectly good plane, and it is really nice rank 3 premium as well to sort of have. You know, if you get it for free, I'd really recommend using it. Buying it, probably not. You know, it's a nice plane and all, but I wouldn't say it's worth the cost of actually buying it. If you do get it, you're not going to be disappointed, but as I said, I wouldn't buy it. So if we just jump out of that and look at what we've got in the Russian tech tree, sort of a similar thing, that rank 3. You've got things like the Thunderbolt, which has such a utilitarian use, and you know it's going to be probably a bit cheaper as well at the end of the day. I wouldn't recommend the King Cobra or anything like that, but then you know you can go up to rank 4 and get things like the LA7s. There's a lot more planes that are worth it in a premium way, that are going to be, you know, just a little bit more. They're going to give you a little bit more RP for one, and you know they're just a little bit better. But as I say, it's not a terrible plane to add to your lineup. As I say, the I-185 is one of my favourite planes, and as you can see, the I-185 Standard Edition, just with 3 Shabaks, is a 3.7 battle rating. Yes, it does have the radial engine rather than the It is the radial engine, isn't it? It is an inline engine. Yeah, it's a radial engine. I thought it was. I was pretty sure it was. The main difference is that engine, of course, but you've got an engine with very similar horsepower. The plane is actually slower. You know, of course it is, because you know, Gaijin. The 3.2 battle rating premium is effectively better than the standard tech tree ones. Yay, Gaijin. But you know, the I-185 and the 185 M71, the barrel rating 4 version, this is one of my favourite planes of all time for the Russian tech tree. This thing I used to grind out many things, and if I was going to recommend doing something, just pop a talisman on that, or if you fly a couple of the other planes, pop a talisman on those, because you're going to get better results at the end of the day. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it somewhat useful. Usual like and subscribe, and you know, you never know, I might actually hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Heaven forbid. But yeah, I'll catch you all next time. This is me, Carl Screezilla, wishing you all the best. Bye bye.